Hi, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then welcome. I talk about things related to disability, and I also make disability friendly workouts. And today I'm actually starting a new series. It's going to be a series on ableism and different topics related to it. I know in the past I have spoken about ableism on my channel, but like I realize that not everyone knows exactly what ableism is. So sometimes when I talk about it, people are kind of confused. They don't know what it means. They may think it's just a buzzword that people throw around when that is not the case. So I thought that I would start a new series and talk about ableism and my understanding of it and experience with it. So for this video, we're going to specifically discuss something called internalized ableism, and that's like the most I want to say it's the most micro level of ableism, but it also is a result from the more macro, the more like bigger world forms of ableism. So my definition for internalized ableism, and everybody kind of has their own definition. Like there's not one set definition, so I'm just gonna give my definition. I would define internalized ableism as when someone absorbs and takes to heart the disability oppression that is perpetuated by our society. So basically, to actually use the word internalize, it's when you internalize the negative stereotypes towards disability. So for my life, this has shown up in a ton of different ways. I remember from a young age, I constantly, well, this has a lot of shame for me, but from a young age, I wanted to like distance myself from the other special ed kids because I thought if I like socialized with them, that people would think that I was intellectually disabled, and there is a big stigma towards intellectual disability, and for that reason, now that I'm older and now that I know better, I do my best to advocate for people with intellectual disabilities because I know that the disability community as a whole is super ableist towards intellectually disabled people. And that's not okay. Like, just because I'm disabled doesn't mean I can't be ableist towards other disabled people. So that is something I work really hard on. And like, it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but like, I went to speech therapy for my entire time in like public school, and I remember especially in middle school, I would like run to the speech therapist's classroom because I didn't want people to know that I had speech therapy, even though I obviously stutter, like everybody knows that, but like there was a lot of shame and a lot of stigma attached to having speech class, and so I would literally run there as fast as I could and try to run out as fast as I could. And that's kind of embarrassing to admit, especially now that I feel like I'm a big advocate for disability and for destigmatizing it, but I think that's why it's so important for me to talk about it, is I didn't start from like understanding things and like being so woke or whatever. Like I started feeling really bad about myself and thinking really negative things about other disabled people, and I have learned from that, and I continue to learn. Like that's one thing, is you're never really done learning about these things. And also internalized ableism also really impacted me because I feel like from a young age, I was constantly trying to overachieve and prove that I could, that even though, and the reason why I'm putting even though in air quotes is because I don't do anything without my disability, so it's not really even though, but even though I was disabled, like I could accomplish all these things. Like I could run track, and I could take these AP courses and go to like an elite college. I'm rolling my eyes at that now because it's all a bunch of bullshit, but at the time it was really important to me that I looked like I was being successful despite my disability. So for a long time, I really didn't own my disability, and I constantly pushed myself to extremes, and I developed an eating disorder because of that, along with a lot of other self-esteem issues, because I felt like no matter what I could achieve, it was never enough, because I had to outperform everybody else. In my mind, that was the only way I would be worthy. Lou, sorry, my dog just barked and I got startled. Yeah, so that's kind of my story with internalized ableism, but even now I still struggle with internalized ableism. Like, for some reason, I've always been very ashamed. I'm bringing this up because my dogs just startled me, but I've always been very ashamed of my startle reflex, because most like adult people don't startle super easily, but I do because of my cerebral palsy, and many other people with cerebral palsy, but also other like neurological disabilities like autism and stuff like that. Like a lot of people with those disabilities also have a startle reflex, and that's one thing I've always had severe anxiety about, is my startle reflex. Like in high school, I would wear earplugs in school because I didn't want to startle, because number one, being startled is not fun because my entire body passes out, and actually it can be quite painful, but also it's kind of embarrassing. Like you don't want to seem like wimpy or something, which is stupid. Now I see that as stupid to really care a lot about what other people think. But the thing is about internalized ableism is it's not just me caring about what other people think, but it's also me knowing that the stereotypes and the stigma towards disability is really going to impact my life and my opportunities. So it's not just some internal struggle or like it's not just an individual thing. I face systemic oppression as a result of my disability. Like I find it harder to get jobs than my non-disabled peers, and people judge me, and people constantly like are aggressive towards me. And I feel like for a lot of things, like things that come easy to non-disabled people are a lot harder for disabled people. And I think that's where internalized ableism comes from, is you're constantly trying to seem as not disabled as possible because you realize that looking or seeming disabled will put you at a disadvantage in an ableist society. So like it's not just me not liking myself, it's me being afraid of facing more oppression than I have to. And of course that is compounded if you are Black or indigenous or just any person of color, or if you are transgender, non-binary, if you're gay, if you are fat, like of course other marginalized identities paired with a disabled identity, or even multiple disabled identities, really compounds the effects of ableism and of internalized ableism. So I really want to make that clear, that I take that very seriously, and I realize that even though I am disabled, I still have many privileges. So that is why I try my best to educate myself and also educate others. And my takeaway from this, I don't want it to be a woe's me video. I want people, non-disabled people, to understand like the many layers that go into disability and the many layers of ableism. Like it's not as simple of an issue as it may look like on the surface. Like it's not just, oh, there are no curb cuts on the sidewalk. Like ableism goes very deep into society, so I want to make that clear for people, but also for disabled people watching this, I want you to realize that you are not alone, and that it's okay to not always be 100% and not to be like the best disability advocate and to fully accept your disability. Like I don't think that's the purpose of social justice and working to undo ableism, is to not 100% to not be ableist, to be ableist at all, but instead to work on yourself and to realize that it's okay that you've internalized these things, and actually it's kind of expected since it's so ingrained in our society. It is hard to not internalize these things. So I just wanted to say that if you feel shame for that, it's okay. You're not alone, and it's something you're probably gonna have to work on for the rest of your life. Yay! But that's just how it is. And thank you so much for watching this. I'm gonna try to make this a series, so I'm gonna do like institutionalized ableism and like interpersonal ableism, and maybe even with like institutionalized, I might even break it down into things like academic ableism and like all different forms. We'll see how that goes. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and if you have anything to say, if you would like to share your story, you can go ahead and do it down below. I know it can be very hard to share your story publicly, so no pressure, but if you want to do that, go ahead. My comment section is a safe place to talk about what you struggle with. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.